Hey everybody, welcome to Movie Time. I'm Sean. Alright guys, we have a lot of X-Men news this week. Lots of X-Men news this week. At the MTV Movie Awards premiered a clip of the first opening fight scene in the movie. It looks really cool. It gives you a nice kind of flavor of what's going on in the movie. It had almost an Avengers feel to it with the different characters in the film, you know, standing back to back, you know, ready to go. It had that type of feeling to it, but it also had the X-Men feel to it. The clip overall, it gives me a lot of hope. I mean, the trailers are awesome already. The clip shows you a little bit of what's going to be happening. The graphics, the CGI, that all looks great, and I just can't wait to see this film. Also was dropped was the final trailer for X-Men Days of Future Past. I am really excited about this. Every single trailer that they put out for this movie has gone better and better and better. Finally culminating with this trailer, it gives you a little bit more of the story and kind of points you in the direction of what the story is going to do. And I like that. It doesn't give away like what's happening exactly specifically, but it gives you a nice hint of what direction the story's heading, and I like that. A nice cool little Easter egg regarding the X-Men Days of Future Past movie this week is it is coming out on May 23rd. Spider-Man. You would think that they're competing, you know, entities, you know, X-Men Days of Future Past from Fox, Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man's from Sony. Well, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 comes out May 2nd, May 3rd, I think it is. And like I said, X-Men Days of Future Past on May 23rd. But because of Mark Webb originally had a contract with Fox, and after he did, I think it was 500 Days of Summer, it was a pretty big hit. He ended up going to Sony to do the Spider-Man movies. They wrote something in the contract that to let him do that, they have to work on some marketing campaign type thing together. So because of this, at the end of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, there's going to be a post-credit little trailer prologue scene of the X-Men Days of Future Past. This is pretty interesting, pretty crazy. I've never heard of something this like embedded or divisive with the comic book movies. I know that there was a movie, I can't remember what movie it was, a couple years ago. It was when, I think it was The Dark Knight was coming out, and they showed a prologue to The Dark Knight after the movie was over as well in IMAX screens to show off, you know, the IMAX, what the Dark Knight has in store. So I mean, there's something similar in that case, but this is like a very embedded like split between Marvel properties. It probably leads a lot of people to think that there's going to be some crossover happening pretty soon, and I would not be one to say that, you know, I don't think that this kind of leads in that direction, but at the same time, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. There's a contract in place with this to allow Webb to direct Spider-Man that has already, you know, laid the groundwork for this happening here, which that could be very, very cool and awesome and unique, but at the same time very restrictive to Spider-Man ever going to X-Men, X-Men ever going to Spider-Man, or either of those going to the Avengers Marvel Cinematic Universe. But it is really cool, and it is really awesome to hope and be positive and just like, maybe it could happen, you never know. So I'm gonna leave that thought there, and you guys let me know what you think. Is this pretty cool? Do you guys enjoy hearing about news like this? Is the fact that they're gonna be showing, you know, some X-Men Days of Future Past stuff at the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2, does that like entice you to go see the Amazing Spider-Man 2 some more, or does it make you happy that there could be some major possibilities in the future? Alright guys, so Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly, and Adam McKay are teaming up again for a movie called Border Guards. This is the movie. Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly decided that they want to be border patrolmen, and I'm pretty sure hijinks are going to ensue. They all three of them worked together on, I think it was Step Brothers, and Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights. They all worked together on that one as well. I enjoyed both movies. Talladega Nights, Story of Ricky Bobby, that one was pretty interesting. I really liked certain parts of that. Some of it was a little bit not as funny as other movies like Old School or Step Brothers, but it had its really high moments. So I like both movies. I can't wait to see what this one has in store to us, because just the setting of the story, the plot, it sounds really interesting. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of racially charged jokes in this movie. I'm really looking forward to this one. Last piece of movie news for this week, Fast and Furious 7 has started filming at the beginning of the month, and they have now announced in a press release that Paul Walker's younger brothers, Cody and Caleb Walker, are actually going to be part of the filming of Fast and the Furious 7. They are going to be filming some of the action scenes, some of the leftover footage that Paul Walker has not been able to complete that before he passed, and some of the stuff that maybe they aren't going to be using, stand-in stunt doubles or CGI for. This is really cool. One of his brothers looks very, very similar to him, so I think this is really cool. Really nice way to honor them, the family, Paul Walker. Some people, from what I've seen online so far regarding this, some people don't like it. I am for it, in my opinion. I think that this is a good way to allow his family to, to grieve and to feel like, I guess, pride in what their son has done and what their sons are doing, what their brothers, their family members are doing. And I feel that way. I feel prideful, like, when something like this happens. It gives them the opportunity to close some doors and really move on. And feel okay with things. I definitely think that this is going to work. It's a good way to honor Paul Walker. Alright guys, in theaters this week you have 4 movies coming out. You got Disneynature Bears, Haunted House 2, Transcendence, and Heaven is Real. Out of all these movies, the movie I'm probably most interested in seeing is Disneynature Bears. So if you guys are going out to the theaters this weekend, please pick your movie with caution. I'd recommend just going to see Captain America again. And last but not least, our movie of the week this week. This movie has been suggested to me for quite a while now, about a month, maybe a month and a half. I've also heard a lot of things about it, how it's a pretty good, pretty touching documentary. I watched Blackfish. Now, in this documentary, and keep in mind, it is a documentary, this is a viewpoint, for the most part, from one angle. The movie is very touching. It is very heartfelt, I guess you could say. But most of the opinions in this movie are coming from directly from this side. In the film, there are all these people talking and pointing and pointing fingers and things of that nature, and there was only maybe one person on the other side that came from the same background as these people. I felt like if there's 2 ways to do this documentary. You could have just had everybody coming at you, just selling your ideas, your thoughts, what you feel happened. There's that way to go about it. There's also a way to go about it where you have both sides evenly represented. In this documentary, I felt that one guy they had in there that was kind of the opposite viewpoint of these other people, I felt like they should have just left him out of there and just gone with the viewpoint from these people. These viewpoints, thoughts, ideas from these people that they got, they're trainers at SeaWorlds. They were involved with people in some of the happenings that they document in this documentary, and I felt like their tellings, their stories, their experiences through SeaWorld were very riveting. I really enjoyed hearing how they told it. The way that they spoke about orcas and how they spoke about these killer whales, it was pretty beautiful. The way they spoke about their relationships with these whales, the way that they spoke about how they moved so graceful, how they looked, they're beautiful. It makes me want to go see this, and it sucks because this movie is not promoting SeaWorld at all, not in the least bit. But I mean, it makes me wonder what I'm missing out. And the fact is, like, with everything that's said in this movie, it paints a very bad light on SeaWorld. This is where I don't understand some of the views I've heard previously regarding this movie. Some people have said the movie is like, oh my god, it's disgusting, oh, these trainers are terrible, and I've heard these weird, outrageous viewpoints on it, and when I watched this movie, I was like, where are these people coming from? Where are these people that are reviewing this movie talking about this stuff? Because I don't see it. I definitely saw very loving, good, well-intentioned trainers, but I think that some people that reviewed this movie kind of associated SeaWorld with the trainers and put that bad light, instead of just on SeaWorld and maybe their legal team, they painted it all over everybody. Because in this movie I saw trainers, like I said, that had a deep, heartfelt connection with these whales and truly cared about them. SeaWorld, on the other hand, with the stories that were told in this documentary, I really don't know where they can go from here with this. If all of this were true, it's a shame that a company, an American company like this, and I'm sure it happens elsewhere with other companies, but it's a shame that this kind of thing happens and is, swept under the rug. I'm not going to go into too much details because I definitely want you guys to go check this out. but it's a shame. It's a shame that this kind of stuff happens. I felt that the movie did a really good job of painting the picture. It did a really good job of giving you background about the relationship of these trainers with these whales. It gave you good background of how a whale is in its natural habitat, of how evolved, I guess you could say, a whale is in general, because it really showed a different side to me than anything I've ever seen or thought of animals. You know, I've always known that dolphins, whales, those are some of the smartest animals in the world, but I didn't know that it was to this extent. So some of the scenes that they show, and there's some of the stories, some of the research that they dive into, no pun intended, some of the stuff they go into in this movie is really, it's eye-opening. It made me feel, the one thing it made me think of when I was watching this was that I felt like SeaWorld is them putting these whales in these containers and pools and requiring them to do these tricks and this and that. It felt like it was almost as if there was some sadistic guy rounding up humans and teaching them how to roll over and keeping them in a cage. It almost felt like that. They gave these whales personality in this documentary. You get to see how these whales act and interact with other whales and people and human, and it really makes you think, like, if that was you and you were in this type of situation, forced to be in this situation, how would you act? I mean, I am pretty sure that if I had the physical capabilities and I was stuck in a situation like this, I wouldn't blame somebody or myself if something like what happens in this documentary, if I or someone else did that, if they were in that situation. It's really bad what goes on in these places, how they treat animals, and it extends to farther than that. It's not just at a theme park. You got so many other things where maybe animals aren't treated in the best manner, whether it's experiments, it's using animals for food. There are lots of avenues that need to be looked at and really thought through in a different light, and thought of in a different light, and thought more in a critical thinking type of way. How are we treating these animals? How are we giving them, what are we restricting their life to? You come out of this movie thinking about a lot of things, and I definitely think you guys should watch this movie. It sheds a light on SeaWorld that you probably didn't know. It shows you the relationship between humans and whales and what can happen, what the dangers are, but also at the same time, it also just shows you what goes on behind closed doors. I definitely think you guys should watch this movie. It's very enlightening, and I definitely think it can open your eyes, and it's definitely worth a watch. You guys go out there. It's on Netflix right now. It's streaming right now, so go check that out and let me know what you guys think. I definitely would like to hear your opinions on the documentary Blackfish. Alright guys, that's it for Movie Time this week. Remember to click the like, share, subscribe buttons down below. Leave your comments, questions, inquiries, and suggestions for Movie of the Week in the comment section down below. Let's have a great conversation this week. We'll see you next time.